I don't claim that this game was perfect in any way, but I still think that it was an interesting game because of the way I just crushed white. And okay, my opponent wasn't very strong, but to get crushed this way, it's not easy to do that against a very strong player. So the opening was the bird's opening. So before I actually show the game, I want to show the opening itself. My opponent opened with f4, and that's the first move that of course starts the A02 bird's opening. So let's take a look. I played e5, and since I'm just talking about the opening, white can f takes e5. You can also play e4. I believe that e4 is more difficult to meet as black. Then, for example, e takes f4, knight f3, g5, h4, g4, knight e5, knight f6, d4, d6, knight d3, knight takes e4, and so on. And of course, all this continues very long, far into the game, or opening rather. So, for example, e5. After f takes e5. In the game, I played d6, with the idea, of course, that if white takes, then after bishop takes d6, knight f3, g5. White has, black has developed a piece, and that's the whole point with the gambit, the pawn gambit, when he took on d6. And now, of course, g5 is also very interesting. It threatens g4, so white usually plays g3, and now g4, knight h4, knight e7. I believe that black has some compensation for that pawn. He has to develop pieces, and now things are a little bit open up around the white king. So, for example, for these moves, you can see that it's not that simple and easy for white to get his king tucked away somewhere. Probably the queen side, because now, of course, the king side is under attack. The h file is open. The bishop is putting some pressure on the g3 pawn. So probably castling queen side, or perhaps even staying in the center, is what white will do here in this variation, king side. But anyway, those were just a few things that can happen after the move e5. My opponent, anyway, just to go back to the game, my opponent played f takes e5, played d6, and here he played knight f3. Another move is, well, as we saw, e takes d6, or e6 is also, I don't think I've ever seen that. Then, of course, just bishop e6, knight f3, knight f6, and so on. Anyway, so let's go to the game. Again, I was black, and just to remind that now when I've gone over several variations in the opening. So f takes e5, d6, knight f3, knight c6. I've played knight c6 many times because I don't want to take on, as actually the theory goes, take on e5. Then white can play e4. You can also play knight c3, and of course you can also take the pawn. If he takes, then bishop d6, and again we can see that after knight f3 that black has just developed a piece for free, and it's actually ahead in the development, because now the bishop diagonal is open, and black can castle away very early. So instead of knight c6 as I played in the game, it is okay to actually take the pawn. He played d4, a mistake more or less, because now I'll just take. Okay, white can play d5 here, but for example, if d5, just a sample variation, e4 takes, and for example, something like this. I think that it's an equal game. Or for example, let's take a look at that. e4 takes. I can also take back over here. It's an equal game. So anyway, after d takes e5, d takes e5, I just ready queens, we check, he has to take back, and now bishop g4 with the idea to take the pawn. He protected with bishop f4, and he'll castle along with a check. That's always a useful move. Knight b to d2. Now I don't have much time to actually go over all these variations and moves that both could have played, but let's just take a look at the game. So I played f6, a good move, because now if it takes, I will take back my knight and I'll just develop a piece. So he did take, I played knight f6, and I believe that most people can see that black is actually doing better here, because I've developed more pieces. His king is still stuck in, in the center. My rook has full control of the d file, and my only piece is just to get that bishop out. And black has just a good game. So you play king e1 to get away from that pin. h6, another move was knight b4, attacking both pawns. Of course, if knight b4, then he has to play rook to c1, and then just, for example, something like this. Rook over here, and then just take, and then back, and then over here again. So he has to, I can even get a draw. Well, of course, he doesn't want to draw, but it's possible. But the reason I played h6 was that I wanted to avoid a move like bishop g5, for example. My idea was to play something like this, but of course, if I can't do that, if bishop g5. So anyway, something like that. So h6 to stop that. g3, knight d5, knight e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5, knight e3, rook c1, and here I played rook e8, another move, probably a better move. Well, actually a better move. I could have played rook takes d2, and after king takes d2, a forking the queen and the bishop, the king and the bishop. So for example, if the king goes back, then just knight takes e5, and although white has two rooks, but two bishops and a knight, and of course a rook, that's just very good for black. But I didn't do that. Actually, I didn't even see that. This was a blitz game, so well, that explains something in a way. So I play rook e8, which is a good move, of course, because now he has to move his bishop somewhere, and when he does, I will just take it like I did in the game. Bishop d4 on f1, and we can see that my bishop is threatening this pawn over here and my rook. And here we played a decisive blunder. He took with the rook, and now after rook takes e2, check, king e1, and now discovery. So his only move is to put either the rook or the knight in between. He put the knight there, knight f3, and here just rook takes d4, check, king e2, bishop c5, c3, rook e8, check, king f2, and rook d2, checkmate. With the discovery here. Of course, you can't take over here, because as you can see, there's a discovery over here. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game, and I'll see you soon.